Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Sunday, August 18th. It is the morning after the New York Jets win over the Carolina Panthers in the second of three preseason games. We will recap it here all on the podcast, although I will say last night was a typical preseason game. That was ugly. Not a ton of true takeaways to come out of that one with. It was just low scoring, not much offense, lots of penalties, some sloppy football. But that's kind of what you would expect from a game where 32 New York Jets sat. They didn't play any of their starters really after last week. Of course, Joe Tippmann played. You did still see Will McDonald out there and some other pieces that you wanted to see, and Michael Clemens, of course. But other than that, you didn't even see Tyrod Taylor. It was the Andrew Peasley and Adrian Martinez show out there. So we'll break down all my takeaways here on the podcast. Before we begin, let me tell you about our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that delivers tickets from all over the internet and puts them into one spot to make it easier for you, the buyer. What makes SeatGeek so great is they rate each ticket on a scale from 1 to 10, so you know what type of deal you are getting on your tickets. Look for the green dots on the seating chart. Green means good. Those are the tickets you want to purchase. Those are the good deals. Plus, my viewers, use promo code BubsOnSports for $20 off your first purchase. Click the SeatGeek link in the description down below. That'll take you to download the SeatGeek app. And again, that is promo code BubsOnSports for $20 off your purchase. Also, my friends over at Huga House. You see me wearing my Huga House hat on the podcast all the time. If you want the hat I wear, or any of the hats seen on Aaron Rodgers, even Shane Gillis, Tyler Conklin, Shohei Ohtani, division rival Josh Allen, there are so many athletes and celebrities that wear the Huga House vintage-inspired hats. Click the Huga House link in the description down below. That'll take you to the Huga House store. And at checkout, use promo code BUBS for 15% off. Get yourself some of the same swag QB1 rocks all the time. Again, that is promo code BUBS for 15% off. All right, now let's get into today's podcast, the morning after a 15-12 win as the New York Jets topped the Carolina Panthers in what was a heavy field goal game for the New York Jets. Austin Seibert, what a day it was for him. What a preseason it's been for him. Zuerlein, of course, went 1 for 1. Seibert came in, went 4 for 4. So all in all, the Jets had 15 points. All 5 came from the legs of their 2 kickers. Seibert is really putting on a really good show for the rest of the league. Obviously, he will get cut with Greg the Leg, of course, holding the starting spot, but there's a good chance he gets picked up elsewhere. There are always teams looking for kickers. Kickers are not an easy position in the NFL. It is always a revolving door at times for some of these teams, so I would not be surprised to see him get picked up. But that was kind of the story of yesterday's game. You know, we opened with talking about the backup kicker. That was kind of the story of yesterday's game. You know, last week you got a little bit more takeaways. I thought a little bit more action because you saw Joe Tippmann start. You, of course, had the Brownlee touchdown. Olu Fashanu looked great. I thought he looked solid yesterday, even with the penalty. You did see some positives, of course, from Will McDonald. So we'll start on offense. Of course, Tyrod Taylor did not play this game. It was the Andrew Peasley and Adrian Martinez show last night at Bank of America Stadium. So that was not too. I wouldn't say it was a big surprise, but you know, I wouldn't. I thought that the Jets would at least go out there and give Tyrod maybe another 2 drives, maybe 3 drives, or again, kind of results-driven drive where if he goes out there first drive of the game, 12 plays, 75 yards, and scores a touchdown, then they would call it a night for him. But either way, it was Andrew Peasley and Adrian Martinez. I thought Martinez looked a lot better than Peasley. I thought Peasley yesterday was running around a lot. His pocket presence I didn't think was excellent. And, of course, there was some plays where he scrambled out of the pocket, had a couple nice gains. But other than that, not a ton from a passing perspective. He went 7 of 11 for 33 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. As for Adrian Martinez, he went 7 of 17, 67 yards, no touchdowns, had 1 interception. Really bad interception across the middle. Really bad throw, just not a very smart throw. So not a ton there, although he did make a great play rolling out of the pocket to Jason Brownlee. He got face masked on the play and got a penalty, rolled out, threw it downfield. Great play, and just unfortunately, an excellent play by Adrian Martinez, even with getting face masked on the play. Other notes that I have here from the offense, not really much else from a quarterback play. Sorry, I'm trying to look through all my notes and trying to organize them in my head. Martinez did have one bad throw in the corner of the end zone to Brownlee. Just threw way out of bounds, wasn't even in reach for Brownlee. There was also one play to Coons, but it was out of bounds. Nice catch by Coons, just was completely out. So a couple of those plays, they really couldn't connect. I mean, the Jets just didn't reach the end zone, so that kind of explains some of it. Peasley, I thought, had one nice run on first down, but I didn't think his pocket presence was good. I'm not going to sit here and break down Adrian Martinez and Andrew Peasley for 20 minutes here. So that's kind of what you got out of the quarterbacks. All in all, the two went 14 to 28 for 85 yards, no touchdowns, one pick, 3.6 yards per completion, and they had a QBR. They had a passer rating combined to 43.8. So not great from either of those guys, although I did think Adrian Martinez looked better than Peasley. As for the New York Jets running backs, I thought yesterday Izzy Abinaconda looked really, really good. 6 carries, 29 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. His longest carry of the day was 12 yards. I thought he looked really good. I thought he had a nice burst. I thought he showed some nice speed, especially up the middle. Made a couple guys miss. I was really impressed with Izzy. I think yesterday was probably one of the most impressive days from Izzy that we have seen, not just through the 2 preseason games, but we've seen all of summer, including training camp, including the joint practices. I thought yesterday was a very, very, very good day for Izzy. I think he's kind of running away with that running back 4 battle. I don't think Valladay really has much of a chance. He didn't do a whole lot in game 1 of the preseason, hasn't done a whole lot recently in training camp, didn't do a whole lot yesterday. So after what seemed like a rocky, and who knows, they still might move on from Izzy, but Izzy's making a strong case to still find a way to hang on to this roster as a RB4. Now, he won't play a huge role, but he's going to find a way probably on his 53-man roster either way. 6 carries, 29 yards. I thought another big piece was Isaiah Davis. I thought Isaiah Davis looked good, especially from especially just from, again, kind of the burst we talked about with Isaiah Davis, the downhill running ability. I thought he had a nice day yesterday. He had one really, really nice run for 9 yards. Braylon Allen finished the day as well, 8 carries, 27 yards. What I noticed more yesterday last night out of Braylon Allen, I think the first game, Braylon Allen was showing us a little bit of speed, showing us a little bit of burst, showing us some of those long runs. Last night, Braylon Allen showed you that ability just late in games. I think if you should walk away from yesterday's game being really, really excited about what you saw from Braylon Allen, because it showed you late in games, Braylon Allen has that ability to just wear down defenses, just run down your throat, play after play, run the clock down, wear down defenses, just run behind this offensive line. Not even full strength, of course. I mean, he had a couple runs, of course, behind Olu, but that was about it. Of course, none of the 5 starters were playing. So Braylon Allen yesterday just showed you that ability to get short yard. There was a 3rd down and 3, picked it up. I think there was a 2nd down and 3. It might have been a 2nd down and 3. It was either a 2nd or 3rd down and 3, picked it up. And just showing you that ability to just lower his shoulder, get those grimy yards, get up those 3-4 yards that might not show up a ton in the stat sheet, but when you watch him and in certain moments of the game, those are huge, huge carries to keep drives alive, to continue possession, to keep the clock rolling, all those different things. So I think you saw the other side of what Braylon Allen did. Last week, you kind of saw Braylon Allen, the ability to get to the second level, show off his speed, truck guys, do all that. He also had the one nice completion or the one nice reception. Unfortunately, it was called back due to a penalty last week. This week, you saw that grimy yard, short yardage back that the New York Jets, of course, will utilize a lot this year. He did have one play on 3rd down where Peasley just flat out missed him. Or 4th down, rather. It was a 4th and 2. I'm glad that the Jets went for it. The Jets went for some of these 4th downs. I was happy to see that. Solid does not need to be settling for field goals in the preseason when none of this matters. So I was glad to see them go for a couple 4th downs yesterday. I think overall, actually, the Jets on fourth downs went 1 of 2. The 1 fourth down, Peasley rolled out. Braylon Allen was open in the flat. Nice play design. Terrible throw. Threw it at his knees. So, unfortunately, if Allen, if it's a better throw, you probably see a 5. Allen could have took that and took it for a little bit more yards. He had kind of one guy on the outside there that I could have seen him kind of running through, but unfortunately didn't have that. So that was it mainly from the running backs. Thought Isaiah Davis again looked good. Braylon Allen, Izzy Abinaconda, those were the main ones. Didn't see a whole lot from Xavier and Valladay. Peasley did have one nice run to pick up a first down. He was kind of he was running all over the place tonight, especially in the pocket. It was just a little bit everywhere. As for the receiving, not a ton to take away from a receiving perspective. You did see the Adrian Martinez, Brandon Smith connection alive and well. Smith ended the day with 2 receptions on 2 targets for 11 yards. Corley had one nice catch. He had 2 total, one kind of across the middle. Took him, probably picked up 4 or 5 yards with it. But other than that, I mean, they tried to get Jason Brownlee got a lot of targets. He had one bad drop, and a couple other balls were kind of just not really thrown very well. He had 1 reception on 5 targets. So clearly, he had the most target. He was targeted the most, but had the drop. The one play in the end zone was completely over his head, out of bounds, not even catchable. So didn't see a whole lot from Brownlee, although you saw him get targeted a lot, which was, unfortunate. You would like to see him come down with a couple of those. You would like to see them a little bit better throws to evaluate him a little bit more. But other than that, I mean, like I said, Kuntz had the 1 catch that was out of bounds. Lance McCutcheon, I thought, had one nice play from Martinez, I believe it was. One nice play there where Martinez, I believe that was the play. It might have been the play where Martinez was rolling out and then threw it to McCutcheon. It might have been that play where he got face mask. I forget exactly which play it was, but McCutcheon led the team, 2 catches for 25 yards. That was about it. Braylon Allen had 2 receptions on 4 targets, which was good to see. Should have had another reception if Peasley didn't throw at his ankles, essentially. But not a ton from a receiving perspective yesterday for the New York Jets. Part of that, of course, was the quarterback play was not exactly perfect. You move on to defense. I thought you took a lot away from the defense. I thought there was a lot more defensive takeaways than there was offensive takeaways. Got to start with Will McDonald. That is the biggest story going into yesterday's game. I think that's the biggest story coming out of yesterday's game. Beautiful spin move on the right tackle. The Carolina Panthers at the time just tore apart their second team right tackle. 2 tackles on the day, finished with 2 tackles, had a sack, tackle for loss, QB hit. Showed off that spin move. And that's something that we know Will McDonald, he's dominant at. That spin move is beautiful. It is very, very lethal. Now, the one problem is once teams start to get a hang of it, once teams start to figure it out, will he be able to adjust and still get to the quarterback? Well, that's a good question, and we'll find that out. But when he connects on that spin move, it is lethal, and there is no escaping Will McDonald after that happens. So good to see him pick up a sack. Last week, of course, played 11 snaps. One of the snaps, 1 good rep, unfortunately, was a pass interference, but it was a good rep and got to the quarterback. Whether or not it was a pass interference, it is what it is. We know how the NFL is with the pass interference penalties, or roughing the passer, rather, not pass interference, roughing the passer penalties. But in terms of those other 10 snaps that he took last week, there wasn't much. He really wasn't around the quarterback, wasn't overpowering guys, didn't do a whole lot from a pressure standpoint. So going into this week after he had a really nice game last year, if you remember, against Carolina, had a really nice game this time. So good to see Will McDonald go out there and pick up a sack. That was the only sack of the day for the New York Jets, but you did have a ton of guys. You did have a couple guys get to the quarterback and get some pressure. Michael Clemens did have 1 pressure. Other than that, though, again, Clemens is just, I don't know. You watch him out there, and it's always feels like last night you saw some of the plays. He was around the ball, but he's never able to actually make the play, if that makes sense. There was a couple times yesterday where you watch him, and he gets off the edge. He's kind of just standing there, trying, holding his edge. I understand, but I don't know. I just don't totally love. He did have a 1 quarterback hit last night. Sammy Guavon had the other one, 3 total quarterback hits, but he didn't have any tackles. He didn't have a tackle for loss. I thought there was one play where there was a couple guys involved. Clemens was involved on one play. There was a run stuff where a couple guys were involved, but other than that, I mean, I don't think you saw a ton from Michael Clemens last night personally. I think you did see a good amount from the corners. Backup corners for the Jets. Tackling is very, very impressive. Brandon Echols had a tackle for loss, 4 tackles total. They don't miss many tackles. Don't at all. And I've been really, really impressed with that. That's something that I think the Jets have worked on this offseason, is tackling. This is a defense that in the secondary hasn't always been the best tackling defense in the NFL over the last couple seasons, despite all the success they've had. They've had some bad tackles. Quantez Stiggers continues to rack up tackles for loss. He continues to just make plays. There was even a play yesterday where kind of a flat route, ball caught right away, and boom, brought down right away. About a 1-2 yard reception. Stiggers was all over him. So I've been really, really impressed with what I've seen from Quantez Stiggers. I also was very impressed with what I saw from Brandon Echols yesterday. All in all, the Jets finished the day, I think, somewhere around 7 tackles for loss. Takk McKinley also had a tackle for loss. I thought he looked pretty good. I thought Takk McKinley flashed yesterday, especially in the run game. I thought he flashed in the run game yesterday. We've seen a lot of him from a pass rushing standpoint during camp. I thought he had a couple good reps yesterday in the run game. He had a really nice run stuff yesterday. So I was glad to see McKinley do some good things. He's making a really strong push. I think he ends up making this roster personally. Brandon McGregor, I thought did a couple good things as well yesterday. There was one play where it was Echols had a tackle for loss on the sideline, but McGregor did a good job containing, did a good job holding the outside, allowed Echols, one of those corners, to step up. So that was a play. Not so much was still up on the stat sheet, but a positive there. Pretty much it, though, from the defense. Special teams, Brandon Codrington was excellent. Excellent yesterday for Brandon Codrington. I mean, he had a 63-yard kick return, and then he followed that up with a 39-yard punt return. Really good day for him. A little bit of a long shot to make the roster, but even if he's not with the Jets, this is a guy that could potentially get onto an NFL roster, land onto an NFL team as a specialist, as a returner. Had a really, really good day yesterday. I also thought Irv Charles made a nice play on the opening kickoff. Irv Charles almost also blocked one of the punts. I don't know how he did not block it, but I thought Brandon Echols and Quantez Stiggers and those guys, those should be your gunners. I thought they looked very good on punts. I feel like they've looked very good on punts. They're some of your better tacklers. They should be your gunners, both those guys. So some special teams notes. And, of course, Austin Seibert. I mean, he was excellent, 4 for 4. The best kicker in the preseason. So that's pretty much it. And, again, not a ton. I mean, it was a pretty ugly, a little bit of an ugly game. Total, there was 17 penalties between the two teams, 7 on the Jets, 10 on the Panthers. I thought the one play Isaiah Davis ran right behind him, beautiful run, and then Olu Fashanu just hold him. I held him. I didn't know if it was, I don't know if I totally agree with the call. They called the holding. But other than that, I thought he looked fine. I mean, there was really no pressure. I thought he looked fine in the run game from right tackle. You got to realize this is a guy that's only played right tackle for a week. He didn't play at all in college. So I thought for a guy that's just picked up right tackle over the last week, I think he looked pretty comfortable. But that was pretty much it. Not a ton of action. 17 penalties, 27 points scored. Preseason football kind of at its finest a little bit in this game. But the Jets pick up a win. They are 9-2-1 in preseason in the Robert Saleh era, which is just crazy. You know, you wish some of that success. I mean, I know preseason spread across 4 seasons for Robert Saleh now. As he enters his 4th, got one more game. I get that, but Saleh has 9 wins in the preseason. Can we get a 9-win season for one? Or like these last 2 years, we couldn't even get a 9-win regular season. I mean, this year they better win way more than 9 games. But here we are talking about 9-2-1 in the preseason, and Saleh hasn't had a regular season over 7 wins. So let's make that change, because at the end of the day, none of this matters. So the Jets will close out the preseason next week in back at MetLife Stadium against the New York Giants. Joint practice Wednesday. I'll be out there on Wednesday for the joint practice. So really excited to be out there and get a first-hand look, get a in-person takeaways from that. So stay tuned. We'll have player previews the rest of this week. Only 2 more left of the player preview series, meaning 2 more weeks left. 5 or 6 episodes remain on the New York Jets player preview series. So stay tuned for that. And as always, hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, Jets, 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 Jets.